Hello people, it's me Face here. I goofed up the first recording, so I'm gonna re-record this with audio this time. I made a helicopter in the first video, a very basic helicopter made with stuff that you would get after you unlocked your helicopter parts, which happen pretty, they don't happen right away. But this is gonna be a good creative guide for you. I'm just gonna save the design so I can open it later. I'm gonna recreate because so first of all, I'm gonna go to platform for the thingy-majigger. Grab my engine. It's really important. The first thing is going to be, the first thing you want to think about when you make a helicopter is what do you need it for? And in turn, how big do you need to make it? And in turn, how much engine power do you need? At the beginning of the game, you only get this engine. So the only helicopters you can make with this kind of engine are small passenger and maybe a single, maybe two if you're lucky, cargo pieces helicopters. But with this, I'm going to make a small exploration helicopter, simply because it is the easiest thing to do. Now, I like to do the cockpit design like this. I'm going to grab some toggle buttons, fill up these places with toggle buttons. Get 4 toggle buttons. You can put more on the bottom here or more on the sides. But for a small cockpit, I want to make this as small as possible. So, contrary to popular belief, the last thing you want to add on your helicopter is your propellers. I will explain why later. So I usually add 2 gauges here. One is going to be for altitude, one is for speed. You won't get those sensors at the beginning of the game. You will get these gauges, however, these digital displays. So I'm going to put them in here. This is usually my kind of cockpit. And then I usually have a artificial horizon here. And if I rotate this, there you go. That shows you what kind of angle your helicopter is tilting at. This is going to be a very basic helicopter. Right now I'm going to go and enable symmetry mode, XY plane. So I can do this. And you can place your blocks right there. Your player will be crouched in there, but it will fit. Here we go. And now a really important aspect of helicopters. Well, I mean everything's important when you're doing the design, but something that most people forget about is what are you gonna do? What are you gonna use it for? Are you gonna land on water, just ground? This is gonna be a basic helicopter, so we're only gonna use ground. These are gonna be like little skids that are used. The wider these are apart from your helicopter, from each other, the more stable it is against rolling, so it won't like tip over. And then next comes the tail. I'm just doing this to make it easier. This is going to come later. This part that goes here is going to come later. Okay, so now we have to focus on a little thing. Now that we've got like the base. Oh, forgot one. gyroscope. Talk about that later. One important, I mean, the most important thing about a helicopter to me is how easy it is to fly. Now to make it more stable, you want your center of lift, which is going to be your main rotor, unless you have two, in which case it's in between those two. This purple icon is your center of mass. You want your center of lift, which is going to be right here, because it's right, below the only thrusting part, the one that goes upwards. To make your aircraft more stable, you want to keep your center of mass, that little purple icon, which is enabled by clicking this icon, the center of mass. Toggle it on and off for easy use. You want to keep that below here, or above it. It doesn't really matter. It's just got to be in line with the same thrust. So next, I'm going to finally add the tail rotor. This part here is just structural, just to make it look better. So now we see it's almost there in the center, but we want to make it more central. So we're going to be placing some weight blocks. A little bit too far. Maybe if I place it further. And then if I place one. That's good enough for me. Another thing you want to do, if you want to just increase stability, this doesn't matter as much as the center, but keeping this propeller in line with this as well. So I'm making a nice cross here. So this aircraft should be pretty stable. It should be able to not rotate on its own. And it's almost symmetrical, which is very important. If you see the starter aircraft, it's got like a little wing out here. I recommend, if you do this, put a wing on the other side, because otherwise your aircraft's going to turn and you're going to have to correct it in midair, and it gets very annoying. So now that we've got the helicopter built, it's time to connect everything. Now here's where the select tool and the logic tool are your friend. I'm going to name this this gauge altitude. This one's going to be speed. Oh, before I forget, here's a linear speed sensor, which you will not get until later in the career. And here is an altimeter. Here's my altitude. These green dots are numbers. So the speed goes to the speed. And it just outputs that number that's given by the sensor, the number, right to there. Now, here's where main engine. And these red dots are on and off. So red goes to red, green goes to green, and other colors go to other colors. So right now I'm going to turn the engine on and off, because that's going to be the main engine power. And over here, I'm going to put the gyroscope. So that'll control the gyroscope when I get to that later. So now comes the connecting to the engine, your power to your power. The reason I'm connecting both of these to the same engine, and the reason you should connect them to the same engine, is because the fact that these propellers will spin and push, like it's usually pushed to over here, and this propeller will be trying to rotate the aircraft in the other direction, so they counter each other. That's why you want them on the same throttle, the same engine, because if they're on different engines going at different speeds, one of them will win the fight between the two, and your aircraft will start spinning out of control. So it's important to keep these from the same power source. Now next we talk about this part of the engine, the throttle. I'm not going to connect this directly to the pilot seat because we have a gyroscope here. which helps stabilize the craft and give you a little bit of autopilot control. So first of all, I'm going to find the green. It says W and S. W and S is usually pitch on helicopters. It's a common control. It's a widely used. So that I click into the gyro where it says pitch, and then the gyroscope will stabilize that number when you have autopilot on, so that this number is the one that actually controls the craft. And all I have to do is connect the stabilized one, which went through the gyro, to the pitch. When the gyroscope is off, it'll take the same value that you get from the pilot seat. It won't change it at all if you have the gyroscope disabled. So it just goes straight there. The next, we're going to connect up and down arrows. Now here's where the engine throttle. Here's where you would have connected to the engine throttle, but we're not going to because we want the gyroscope to control this. So we connect the up and down arrows to up down, and then the stabilize up down to the throttle. And this will control how fast these turn. These two turn. So this one will go faster and this one will go faster so that they counterbalance each other. And the force that is actually generated goes upwards. So you'll increase in height. That's why it's called up down. Next, we're going to grab A and D. A and D is used for roll. So we go to stabilized roll and then we put it in roll. Very simple. The next is yaw, which is usually used left and right arrows. Do the same thing, but we connect it to the tail rotor. And now we have a fully functioning helicopter. So let's, get in it. Try it out. So first of all, you want to turn on the engine. And then I'm going to turn on the gyroscope. So you notice how we start going up, because the gyroscope is controlling our craft's throttle, and because it's not quite accurate, you'll slowly increase in height. So don't leave your aircraft unattended. Now, if you notice, if I pitch forward and go up, so I don't touch the ground, and then I let go of W, the aircraft automatically pitches backwards, because the gyroscope is stabilizing your craft so that you don't move. So when you let go of your controls, your helicopter will just stop and hover upwards. It's the same if I do a roll. It'll counter the roll. And it's the same if I do a yaw. So if you are out of control, you don't know what you're doing, you just let go of your controls and your helicopter will stop for you. And then just press down and you get to your location. That's why a gyroscope is important. Now let's see what a helicopter is like without a gyroscope. You notice it's not actually tipping. That's because of how well I centered the center of mass, and also because there isn't actually any force being applied to it. It's just hovering. If I do apply W though, you'll notice it starts going forward and down, but it doesn't correct itself because the gyroscope is turned off. So here's where people get in trouble when they don't have their gyroscope enabled. They can do stuff like this, and their craft will still, plummet to its death. You re-enable the gyro, and your craft in normal mode will still work underwater. And then the craft rescues itself. Now that's how you make a basic helicopter. We see we got our altitude reading. If I go up, that number increases. And if I go forwards, our speed increases. Or if you go up, it's linear speed. So that's going to be the end of my tutorial for basic helicopters. In another tutorial I might be doing planes and more advanced techniques that are used for quality of life helicopters. you know, for more specialized situations. But thank you for watching, and if you've liked the video, please do like and subscribe. Help me out a lot. And have a great rest of your day. Peace out.